So you're going to philosophize me. Good man.
Philosophize this, bitches. Okay, What We Owe the Future, Will Macaskill, Signal Over Noise book review. Welcome back to Signal Over Noise, the meaningful productivity podcast where we read books on meaningfulness and productivity and review them with our top 5 takeaways. This will be the first time we've done that, so that you don't have to bother reading them, or perhaps simply to whet your appetite so that you can get round to reading these really great books later. Why? Well, most good self-help books feel like they could have been a poster or a blog post, and that would have been about right. And some of them are nothing more than a great title with 300 pages of word vomit stuck to the back. Today's book is not like that. It's called What We Owe the Future by Will Macaskill, and it covers a thoroughly fascinating look at the mathematics of doing the right thing or being a moral and decent person by asking us to consider in our mathematical equations the potential for a multitude of generations to come and the billions and potentially trillions of humans that may follow us in the decisions we make and the actions we take. The author, Will Macaskill, is a 38-year-old academic philosopher at Cambridge Uni, who's perhaps best known for being a founding member of the effective altruism movement, who champion using data analytics to drive charitable actions and donations. And he illustrates this point of following the data by filling about 8 pages at the start of the book with a diagram that compares the populations of A, everyone that's ever lived and died to this point, B, everybody alive today, and C, all of those that are yet to come. And spoiler alert, under most reasonable projections, there are a lot more still to come. This is my top takeaway. Number 1, there are a lot of people to come. And so we should consider that when making decisions with a long tail or potential future consequences. Why? Because our decisions may impact their ability to live a life sufficiently good that it will be considered worth living. Samuel, resident data analyst, have anything to say so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? I feel like it's like this like upside down triangle of population. Like it's just ever growing. I know it isn't in our particular countries of choice. We have this like, I don't know what the shape of the triangle is. Well, actually it's a triangle, but it's the other way around. Upside down triangle. I'll
Inverted
go
pyramid.
on one here. Inverted pyramid. Thank you, data analyst. I'm not a data analyst, as you can tell. But yeah, I guess in reality, I don't have children, but think of that next generation. Because I feel like our own generation feels like it's been shortchanged. So for the next generation, I dread to think.
Yeah. I mean, tangent here, but imagine like a post-apocalyptic society, and they're trying to basically come up with all the technologies that make for the good life, the good modern life that we take for granted now. Like they're not doing it in like Western Europe where we were born and grew up, are they? Because everything that's left is really bloody hard to get to, and all the forests being cut down, and all the easy to get to coal's been burned, and blah blah blah. Yeah, what are we passing down? What are we paying down? Is obviously the big theme of this book, What We Owe the Future, heavily implied by the title. So we'll move on to takeaway number 2, which is that being an ethically, morally decent person necessitates drawing a really large circle around the in-group or us, such that nobody is left standing in the them group basket. This is humanism in a nutshell, or the celebration of what we share, not the celebration of what divides us. But Will talks about how we have evolved over time, slowly, to shift from our us being our family to our tribe to our nation, to including distant peoples of foreign nations. And he asks us that we go one step further. Future peoples should be a part of the us that we should stand for, and importantly, vote for. Which brings us on nicely to takeaway number 3. Future peoples are totally politically disenfranchised. Through being unborn, they are, of course, powerless to influence anything that happens today that might shape their own realities to come, much of which might be contingent in perhaps quite predictable fashion stemming from our choices, like going to the sort of burning up everything that makes fuel point. If, like me, you were brought up with Christian values that the strong and powerful should use their advantages to help the meek and poor, or at least some portion of their advantages, then this one really lands. Future peoples are, by Will Macaskill's calculations, the most disenfranchised and in the weakest negotiating position of all peoples right now. And that's not to say we should neglect others. It's just we should consider these people.
Are there any kind of mental models that should be applied to help a present day person consider the needs of a future person if said present day person is living paycheck to paycheck?
If said person is living paycheck to paycheck and is therefore financially constrained, they should perhaps say, how can I provide for a better future in a way that doesn't impinge on my financial security? So that's not to say I, individual person, can both know the future and influence it in a profound way. But it might be I, individual person, can sign up to become an active member in a group or an organization that's got a pretty good handle on developing a technology. It could be a social technology like, I don't know, democracy or the rule of law, and become an active member of upholding an institution that we want to pay forward to future generations that we think will be of their benefit. And yeah, maybe the card costs a subscription fee a year, maybe it's free, and maybe you act with your time or with some set of skills that you possess that others don't, rather than your money.
Yeah, volunteering seems like a really cool way of doing that. Like if you were to volunteer and help out with something, whatever the cause may be, you just don't know where that's going to go. With volunteering, as you just say, you're paying with your time as opposed to with your cash. So yeah, nice. I like that.
So yeah, these future peoples are basically, for the moment, entirely at our mercy and have no representation at all. Imagine an hourglass, which is something like what Will Macaskill asks us to do, and consider that we might exist at the neck where the glass tightens and the grains of sand pass through one at a time. We could reach out and stop the sands of time or cause an extinction event if we so chose, which would halt the continuity of the species. And perhaps this might happen through engineered pathogens, out of control AI, or thermonuclear war, or some other technology that we're coming up with fast. If we do these things, then we lose all current people, but all future people. And these are the ones that lose most, as fully 100% of their prospective lives would go unlived. Or maybe we avoid catastrophe, but continue stripping the earth of all its valuable resources and replacing it with buried filth. What sort of a planet are we leaving as our inheritance? And what if we continue to elect governments that spend a lot more money than they bring in every year, leading to ever mounting debt burdens for future taxpayers and ever poorer governments that become progressively less able to fulfill their health and social contracts to their populace? Within this worldview, running a balanced budget seems a shockingly moral and ethical thing to do, as does leaving some valuable things in the ground accessible for future generations. So I think that goes back to your living paycheck to paycheck one, really, isn't it? Is that I think it was George Orwell that wrote that poverty is an obliteration of the future. In its most extreme form, food scarcity or inability to afford the medicines to cure yourself of a treatable illness, it's literally physically life-ending. So there is no future to be had. But I think maybe one step up the ladder from that in terms of precarious living situation and socioeconomic status, it obliterates our ability to think long-term because we are preoccupied by scarcity and inability or difficulty meeting our own immediate needs. So that's an absolutely fair point. Even sort of the billionaire philanthropists like Bill Gates are sometimes so preoccupied by needing a pee or needing a poo that he's not thinking long term. He's thinking, where's the bathroom on this Gulf Stream? Oh, I need to have the Gulf Stream renovated so it has more bathrooms.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well done. Yeah, good quote as well from George Orwell. That
he's a baller, a good writer.
he is. He is. If you can stomach all of the terrifying dystopian imagery. But yes, yes. Okay, good take.
Yeah. And so takeaway number 4 from Will is that cultural norms are sticky. That is, they can take hold and ripple through history. And some are more sticky than others. An example of this would be maternity care provided within your home country. In Scandinavia, it's broadly considered normal for mums to be given 1 to 2 years of well-paid maternity leave supported by the state. In the US, 6 weeks is considered heroically generous, with only a few tech companies going further. This leads to US mums not expecting to get 1 or 2 years. Why? Because their forebears did not. And it's not even on the agenda, essentially, because it's so far from the mean or normal human experience in that country. The Scandinavians, on the other hand, have developed a wildly different set of norms that affect the role of women, and no government would get elected in Scandinavia promising to replace their system with 6 weeks of mat leave, and the same's true the other way around. No government in the US is going to get elected promising 2 years as a manifesto piece, perhaps because it would just be sort of disbelieved and not thought to be doable and would damage the credibility of the people claiming it because it's basically so far from the cultural norm. So these norms, which influence the values of the society and the role of women within it in this case, can get locked in, as Will Macaskill puts it. So we not only leave it as our inheritance a financial situation, good, bad, or ugly, an environmental situation, good, bad, or ugly, technologies. We also leave as part of our inheritance the values and the cultural norms. And some of the bad ones could potentially be really good at locking themselves in because they don't contain an inbuilt reset or turn off button. And examples of this would be authoritarian global regimes, misaligned AI systems lording it over us, and potentially moral backsliding into a modern dark age through religious devotion to stories that ask us to consider other humans, not as us, but them. Thoughts?
First thought, to extrapolate on your maternity leave in Scandinavia and the broader impact of that, I've just seen that in 2022, 4 of the 5 Nordic leaders were women. So because you made a point there of saying, what does that make their impact and their role in society? But that's incredible. I suppose if we look at the other flip side of that example, the US has never had a female president. So yeah, quite incredible as to see where that leaves those countries.
Yeah, and I guess it's like, I think in a lot of countries, they talk about the gender pay gap now essentially resembling a mother pay gap. Because if you take the mothers out, women who choose not to have children in lots of modern Western countries are not financially disadvantaged compared to their male peers at age groups of in your 20s and in your 30s. Like historically they were, and so that's still borne out in who's at the top of these corporations. But yeah, I think it's a big thing, isn't it? And it's sort of, you probably get some kind of flywheel effect of if you have some marginal gain, if you progress slightly further in your 20s than your peers, you get more good opportunities, you get better training, you get more money, you get more prestige, whatever it is. In the same way that if you were in a football academy as a 4-year-old, you're a little bit better than all the other 4-year-olds. You get picked up, you get better coaching, you get better training, you get a dietitian working with you at 5, blah, blah, blah. You get compound interest essentially on your sporting or professional gains. And probably there's a sort of phenomenon like that that's kind of helped Scandi countries get to that position where men and women are considered equally capable and therefore electable. Not that I'm in any way an expert on either US or Scandinavian politics, but yeah.
Yes. I also do really appreciate this framing you got, which is just to continuously never think of us and only sorry. Never think of them and only of us. Yeah. I've just failed that test. But it is interesting thinking about the future us, the not yet born us. What do you think about the not yet born us for those of us who are not planning to be parents? Is that something that we should be considering?
Yeah, I think so. I think that weighing up the value of the not yet borns versus the people who are actually here, there are lots of factors that come into it. One of the big ones is hyperbolic discounting, that because the future is so uncertain, we tend to deprioritize it compared to the present. We'd rather have £5 today than the chance of £20 in a month, because who knows if that offer will still be on. So we all, whether we choose to procreate or not, are basically naturally inclined to undervalue future benefits and rewards and dire consequences in preference of immediate benefits, rewards, and consequences. So I think anyone in any situation, regardless of where you're at in terms of family tree, should consider it. But I think one important sort of caveat, or perhaps subduing factor, is you need to basically multiply by the probability of this particular future coming true. So if you're thinking about preserving coal, for example, you might be thinking about the global warming and the greenhouse gas emissions on one hand. But if instead you're thinking it would be good to preserve access to coal for future societies, well, what is the probability or the possibility that future societies use coal based on, like, technology and potential changes and advancements? Most of modern society runs on electricity, so we're not going to give up electricity anytime soon. But how are we going to make it? So I guess what that is to say is, like, because it's complicated and difficult to know how important your decision might be on future generations, it might be more attractive to focus on the concrete implications for people who do currently exist. So if I burn coal in an open fire in my living room, it's bad for those that are going to breathe it in, and maybe my neighbors who are going to get a face full as well. And then, yeah, I agree. I think it's an interesting point. I hope we're all able to give a shit about future people, whether or not they directly come out of us. And hopefully we can look at it more selflessly than just, it's our genetic progeny and I'm going to bat for them. Maybe it's like we were all afforded this wonderful opportunity at this brief flash in the pan called life because of all the generations that went before us that managed to not cock it up catastrophically. So I'd like to be just a player in that grand theatre show of human life that doesn't cock it up for everyone else.
Yeah, I like it. Also, I suppose in reality, from a selfish perspective, I've got at least one nephew. I like him. I hope he has a nice life. Maybe I'll have another nephew very soon. Hopefully they have a nice life ahead of them. Anyway, there we go. Think of the future us.
Exactly. And even if it's motivated by self-interest, like most of us are young enough that we are going to collide with some degree of the future. And finally, takeaway number 5. Here's what Will Macaskill recommends we do with that all. We should look to find work helping to address neglected, high-leverage problems that may significantly impact future peoples. This might look like researching and developing new antibiotics or other therapies to treat extremely virulent diseases and perhaps man-made ones. It might involve, as we've spoken about, lending your support to institutions that promote and pay forward morally good cultural norms and values, and support will work in areas that are likely to have a robust positive impact across many possible or probable futures. So that would involve today, a non-exhaustive list would be promoting AI safety, biosecurity, global coordination and discord and harmony, and technological research and innovation. Why this last one? Well, just take a look around you. Our modern lives are totally contingent on the technological innovations of historic or former peoples. Thank God they left us an inheritance richer than just simply the keys to their cave. And finally, a few thoughts on this book. So the book is not really a gripping page-turner, as many non-fictions are. Actually, pause there. Sam, anything to add on that final point?
Yeah, no, actually, I was just thinking about like the concept of the future is kind of like this weird, nefarious thing. The future never comes, but then actually, is that true? Like, as you just said there, rewind one step. Who left us this world? To them, this was their future. And the reality of the future is the second after I've just spoken now is the future. I'm now in the future. And these things that you can choose to do to work in or have some sort of positive impact on the future. You talk about AI security, for example, or anything, like the impact of that will start the second after you begin. The impact may grow over time. So the importance of AI's safety, security is going to increase, but it is going to be important the second after I've just spoken. So yeah, no, it's interesting, isn't it? I always think of the future in another day, but actually you're constantly going into the future. And so it's important we do consider what we're doing. But yeah, through the lens, for me personally, the thing that clicked with me was just all those things you suggested there that could have a positive impact in the future. They're not like you do them now, sit on them, wait for 10 years, and maybe they'll work and they'll have a positive impact. They will start having a positive impact from the beginning, from the start.
Yeah. And I think that's the way to get motivated, is we know that we like these short-term rewards that are certain. We don't like these uncertain potential future rewards. That's just baked into being human, essentially. And the more we feel that scarcity, that lack of security, the more that's true. So if we can align our short-term or approximate actions and behaviors with our long-term distal desired sort of goals or outcomes. So yeah, if you can find a way that you can positively influence driving technological innovation and get paid well for it and enjoy it. And the whole ikigai thing, like you were talking about, of, something you're good at, something the world needs, something you get paid well for, and something you enjoy. If that happens to have a reasonable long-term sort of arc, probably potentially on it, then that's awesome. You don't want to get too speculative, where it's basically the more if statements there are in you constructing the narrative to get to that potential future, the more likely it is you're wasting your time. So, if, like you say, the future never seems to arrive, but if it's something that actually we're on a trajectory towards. So if you're saying, I don't know, if you're involved in, here's a device that improves clean air in a city, it's like, well, the future of Delhi is going to be some level of a continuation of the current reality of Delhi, which is that it's got really bad air quality. So like, yeah, you're right. Like you can change the world today to change the future world. Like that's probably the easiest way to do it. And you do it on a scale that's like commensurate to what you feel you're capable of, what your skill set is and stuff like that. And then you build, you get one win and you build to another one, or you become part of a team that's capable of winning things that you can't as an individual. So yeah, really interesting book. Makes you think about future people. And yeah, the big one for me, I think that was really quite profound was, well, we're kind of doing this scorched earth thing with like just find and extract resources and use them to satisfy present needs, wants, whims. And to make money. Are we doing the same thing with like governmental finances and stuff? Are we just like, oh great, so we've basically created this infinite money glitch, and it kind of has a problem, but that problem always arrives in the future, which is that you can just create as much money as you want if you're a government, but you don't get to determine its value or its worth. You can create as many pounds, but it's not tied to anything valuable anymore. So if you pull £1 trillion out of your ass overnight, obviously it goes down. If you do that in a really long staggered approach, like everyone's pounds lose purchasing power or what you can do with them over time. So you're essentially taking from everyone that has pounds all together all at once by printing money. If we keep doing that and we make pounds worthless, yet we keep paying people in pounds, and tell them that if you work hard, you'll get enough of these that you can buy a house and you can settle down and you can have a family if you want one and 2 nice holidays a year. But we're engaged in the process of melting the value of pounds by just conjuring lots of them out of thin air that aren't tied to value. Then like, what are we doing for young people that are going to join this game when a small handful of people will have accrued all these pounds? More will be poured out by the government to cover its obligations, but new game entrants, new economic units can't get enough pounds to do the things that they were told they'd be able to do if they signed the social contract and played a role in society. So I think before reading this book and thinking about this conceptualization, like conjuring money out of thin air to help people that exist now just seemed like just good, basically. but then you realize like the bill needs to be paid by someone. And I kind of conceptualize the future and the present as there's two cars that are in a slow motion car crash, and one's just nudging the other one along. And we always sit in the present car, like we can't feel or inhabit the future. We can't exist within it, but it's like always slow motion collision with our present, like you're saying. So it's always arriving, but we never find it. It's like just being shunted ahead, but it's sort of kind of melting into our present, or at least what's inside the future vehicle is coming into our present vehicle. And we put it there in the first place. So who have we got to blame? Well, maybe the people before us. That's by the by.
Yeah, by the way, dear listener, do check out Owen's Richest Man Bab. No, it's not that one. Which was the episode you did about the Monopoly, with the Monopoly game?
Yeah, no, I think it was called the Monopoly Game or something, but it wasn't a book review.
No, but it's well worth listening to if you just want to, if you want to imagine a Monopoly board metamorphosizing into the real world to understand some of the challenges actually that our future generations will have in reality. It builds on quite nicely from this. But yeah, shout out to that episode and to your good work there.
Thank you, bro. And thank you all listeners. Thanks for joining us on this ride today. I hope you got something out of it. And if you do, go ahead and read the book anyway. I hope you get plenty out of that as well. So thank you for listening. Be well and do good.
See you guys.